Welcome to Season 3 of the Take the Leap podcast. We want to thank you for being a part of this journey with us.
Whether you're just starting to tune in or you're a longtime listener of the podcast, you can expect to hear from entrepreneurs in all stages of their journey, how they got to where they are, and all the mistakes and victories they've had along the way.
We're excited to share new guests and have some returning folks from our first 2 seasons. Thank you for being here, and we hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome back, everyone, to the Take the Leap podcast. I'm very excited for our guests today, Hami Arrington and Brent May, the founders of 1 Foot Over, a strategy-first B2B marketing agency, rethinking how tech and industrial manufacturing companies grow in the age of AI. Under their leadership, the agency has evolved beyond traditional deliverables to build AI-powered systems that help marketing teams move faster, operate smarter, and drive results that matter. From messaging and SEO to HubSpot automation and AI integration, 1 Foot Over helps in-house marketing teams get unstuck, align around strategy, and scale with clarity. Then we've got Hami, who serves as the chair of the American Marketing Association Foundation and is a past president of AMA Houston and the Women's Masters Network. She currently serves on the boards of Junior Achievement of Southeast Texas and Leadership Houston. And Stephen is the president-elect of the American Marketing Association's Professional Chapters Council, also a past president of AMA Houston. And previously, Stephen served on the boards of the Aldridge Foundation and Bearing Open Gate Homeless Ministries. Welcome, Hami and Stephen. We're so excited to have you join us today.
Welcome.
Thank you. We're excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're going to start this out as we always do. What is I have 2 questions. When were your terms as presidents? Did you guys have overlap at all for AMA Houston?
I was president first. I was 18, 19.
Okay.
And Hami was on the board when I was president.
Yeah, and I was president 21, 22, the year after the COVID year.
I was going to say, because I think you were right after me.
Yeah.
Or same time as me. Okay, Now we can go back to our regularly scheduled. What is your Take the Leap story? How did you guys start 1 Foot Over together?
So I'll let Hami start the story, but I think it is important to note that it truly is an AMA story. We always say like an AMA love story, but our journey starts with AMA.
So my first year on the AMA Houston board was actually right before I was even on the board. I went to Leadership Summit, which is a conference for AMA chapter leaders. And so since I went before it was my year, I didn't know anybody that was going. And so I saw on LinkedIn that somebody had looked at my profile and it was this guy named Brent May. And I was like, okay.
Well, and the reason I did was because I had been to Leadership Summit probably 4 or 5 times at that point. And we always knew like the board members who were going or whatever, and they sent out the list of who's going to Leadership Summit, and I see this name on there and I'm like, who is this? Like, and I'd just not met Hami at an event or anything at that point, and like the name was unfamiliar, so I was like, I don't even know who this is that's going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then I went and I was like, okay, I don't know anybody, but I'm just gonna go around and introduce myself. And I don't know how, I don't know the moment that Stephen and I met. But we were fast friends. I do know that. That year, that president had gotten one of these party buses, and there was a stripper pole on the bus. They were just wild on that bus. Stephen and I, though, were kind of in the corner, just drinking and talking like we do now, actually.
So, didn't we control the playlist on the bus? Weren't we like in charge of the music?
Yeah, probably so. And then we were talking about how we had traveled or where we had traveled to. And then I remember specifically, there was a time when we were both in Amsterdam at the same time. And we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're in the same place at the same time. Fast friends. And so then I was like, oh, when we get back to Houston, let's get a happy hour. And of course, Stephen was like, yes, let's do that. So I sent him a meeting invite. And then what happened, Stephen?
So I remember I worked for a software company at the time. And so Hami sends this invite and I get it on my work calendar and it's like happy hour. I think it was was it 5 to 7?
Something like that, yeah.
And I was like, 5 to 7? I was like, why are we ending at 7? Like, it just didn't compute. And she was like, okay, I can change it. And I think you changed it to midnight or like,
Yeah.
So fast forward to this happy hour though, that literally does go on till at least midnight. We went to a bar that we both knew, like we drank there, and then we're like, I can't remember if we went to a second place, but at one point Hami was like, oh, my dad owns this building downtown and they have really good wings. So we go to that bar, order wings, and Hami was like, I'm gonna see if my husband wants to come pick me up because I probably shouldn't drive at this point. And we like it probably was midnight before we left. I mean, I was correct with my expectation that a happy hour does not end at 7 o'clock.
Anyway, so that's how all of it started, and then we were on the AMA board together, and then we ended up serving together, putting on the Crystal Awards, and we worked really, really well together. And at that point, I had an agency, and it had come to a point where I was like, well, I need to hire somebody, or I need to take on a partner. And low key, I was looking for a partner. And towards the end of the first year we worked together, I was like, Stephen, we work really well together. What if we tried to make money working together?
And I was working at the software company and leading the global marketing team. And like, it was one of those situations where we got to do a lot of really cool stuff and had a great team. Like, I had the most awesome team and like actually loved working with my team. But it was one of those situations where we'd essentially taken marketing as far as that company was willing to go. And marketing wasn't really valued there. And so it was like, okay, I can keep just doing this every day. It's actually a really cushy job at this point, but I was bored. And so I never really thought about owning my own business and probably would never do it by myself. And so when we started having this conversation, it was like, okay, this is interesting to me.
I think that it's important to note too that there's one thing about both of us that I think is unusual, and in that everything that we do, we go into it very hard in the paint. We really just don't give up. We put our 100,000% into it. And so that includes marketing. And what we were seeing was in the Houston market was that there just really wasn't very good marketing. The entire community was really kind of a little bit behind and just needed some leadership. We really thought so. And so Stephen, he was one of the smartest marketers that I had met in Houston. And I believe that I was doing some pretty smart marketing as well. And so that's why it worked so well. That was really why I was like, hey, let's make marketing better. So that was our original goal of starting One Foot Over, was let's make really good marketing.
Yeah. And being on like the client side, I had no agency experience, but I dealt with agencies, and like I was seeing agencies pitch us and, getting proposals. And I'm like, oh my God, I was like, for what you're charging companies, like, and what you're delivering, I was like, these two things don't match. And that was a part of it. We saw like friends and stuff who were like, yeah, we paid X amount for this and look how horrible it is. And we're like, clients actually deserve better than what we feel like they're getting. And this isn't every agency. I don't want to like shit on like Houston agencies, but like, because they're great agencies here. But we were seeing examples where we're like, you know what? Like, we believe we can do something that's better for some of these clients for what they're getting.
Yeah. I do think the competition has gotten better over the years. So we're 8 now, but I think the competition has gotten better throughout the years. And maybe we've succeeded in this goal of making the marketing better.
All of the day, we did what we set out to do.
I love that. AMA making connections. I mean, that's how Tori and I met years ago, was through volunteering through AMA, and then separated for 5 years, and then came back at the beginning of 2020. Yeah. So I think there's a lot to be said about that, making really high quality connections. We can sound clip that for the membership.
I don't know. This is probably a sidebar that you'll cut out too, but Ashlyn, I don't know if I told you, our former director of client services, Cindy, that worked for us at One Foot Over, who is also from Houston, just moved to Portland, is now joining the AMA PDX board with B2B.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Yeah. That's so exciting. So you should connect with her, Tori, because Tori's still in Oregon.
I should, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Her name's Cindy Arzola. She's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I will, for sure. That's awesome. That's great. Well, that's thank you. I mean, there's so many things I want to say, but thank you for sharing your story. I think that's really cool that we actually don't talk to that many partnerships. Like, we've only had like one or two other people so far. So this is really exciting to just kind of like hear how you met and like how you kind of came together. And yeah, it's really cool. So I guess kind of moving on into the next question here. What piece of, and you probably both are going to have different answers for this, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you started knowing what you know now?
Do you want to go, Hami?
Well, yeah, I can go. So one of the things that I would say that for us that has been a lesson that we've learned over and over and over again, but I think that we finally actually learned it over the last maybe 6 or 7 months or so, is that, not everything has to be perfect. I already said that we go hard in the paint for everything that we do. And it's because we want everything to be very good and perfect. And, we all know that that's an impossible task to do. And I think that over the last 6 or 7 months, especially with the advent of AI, not the advent of it, but using it more and really getting it ingrained in all of our processes, that's really something that we've learned, is that it doesn't have to be perfect, because it can't be. And so for us now, 70% for us, which I would say is probably 90% for other people, it's fine. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's going to think anything of it, because you know what? There's going to be another piece of content, another strategy, another whatever that's coming right around the corner, and they're going to forget about this in the next 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we're all human.
Right. Exactly.
Right. I mean, I agree with that. I think one of the other things too is this idea of like, what worked there won't work here. Yeah. And there were things that I think were really successful in my past roles, or, the way I managed a team, that don't translate to One Foot Over. It's like managing people as an employee is very different than managing people as a founder owner. Yeah. And those two things don't translate. And so I think, Ashlyn probably knows this about me, is that like I probably have this sense of delusion where I always joke and say that I believe I could be the mayor of Houston tomorrow. I think I can do anything. Yeah. But I would say owning the agency and managing it for the past 8 years has probably given me more of a sense of imposter syndrome than anything else that I've done, because there are days that I'm like, should I be doing this? Am I qualified? Where in most other aspects of my life, I'm like, oh yeah, I can absolutely do that. But it's this idea that like things that have previously worked don't necessarily work when you're the owner. You've got to change that. And so kind of learning where like the differences are has been a big, like, if I'd known that coming into it, I would have probably approached things like hiring and, managing differently than what we have.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah. And it's just human nature to kind of like fall back on your experience and like, oh, well, this worked here, so maybe it'll work this way. But it's like a really good reminder, especially as an entrepreneur, that you have to like constantly evolve and learn as you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we've chatted about this too, Stephen. Like, hiring people is the hardest thing, especially like, you and Hami have each other to lean on, but like, and you understand. I think being that you guys are both owners of the company, you understand the expectations. But when you add an extra element to that, who is a owner, and then you're like, yeah, you're not going to work at this the same way that I'm going to, or have, that same. And I also don't like, you don't expect them to have that same, but it's not the easiest when you know that the two of you can pass things back and forth that you wouldn't necessarily to an employee otherwise.
Right. Like there's this idea, like in business, you hear it sometimes, like where they talk about like, you want your employees to have this owner's mentality or this entrepreneurship mentality. And it's like, to me, that's bullshit, because like if they had that, they would own their own
They would
business.
leave. They'd leave you.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't actually buy into that concept. And I think you just said something about like the way Hami and I can pass things back and forth to each other, which actually made me think of something like, there are times that Hami and I are like, we feel like, people that have worked for us over the years look at us as coworkers and not the owners. And we're not looking for this, like, oh, we're up here on this pedestal or whatever, but like,
there'd be some kind of, it'd be nice sometimes.
right. But also I'm not your marketing specialist.
Yeah.
And so, but I think because Hami and I essentially treat each other as coworkers, that maybe that tends to like create like the environment that like we're all, even though we're all on one team, like we're all coworkers on the same level. And it's like, not trying to create a hierarchy, but yes, Hami and I are on the same level, but maybe we're all not.
So. Yeah. It's a culture thing, a work culture thing. And they probably see your leadership styles with each other and they're like, oh, I can do that. And it's like, yes and no in certain cases.
I think so there's one, like, I'd like to go back to this point of like this owner's mentality, right? So I absolutely understand that I cannot expect an owner's mentality out of an employee, but I do have, I have a hard time reconciling like that. I know that I'm going to work harder because I'm an owner and you're not going to because you're an employee. But where is that line? Like, when do you demand more from the employee? That's where I think that I have a hard time with that, because I've always had that ownership mentality, right? Like, even when I didn't own something, that was my mentality. And so I do have a hard time with the employees when they don't think like that.
Yeah. I think too, it comes out in like the recognition too, because I feel like I have always had that really like high achiever mentality. And then, it doesn't come with like pay or recognition. It comes, you can be on all these different councils and all these different things. You can do all this other unpaid labor. And I'm like, cool, thanks. I want more money. Like, that's what I want.
Well, I think that like, I don't want to make it generational, but like, I think there's a different, like, I think it's important to recognize like not everybody is a high achiever and not everybody wants to be.
That's true.
Necessarily.
That's very true.
And it's like, I think we have the luxury then of deciding like who we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
But the problem is I want to surround myself with
high achievers.
The problem is we can't always afford high achievers.
So true. Okay. I have our last question, like standard question before we put you all in the hot seat. But I wanted to ask, what's your why? Why do you continue to choose, the entrepreneurship path? Because we all know, all of us are business owners. We all know it's not easy to keep doing this.
So this is something that is wired within me, is that I like to solve problems. Probably when there isn't a problem, I try to make up a problem to solve. It's like to a fault, but I mean, I do look at everything as it's a puzzle and it's pieces, and I'm gathering the pieces and putting it together. And I think that with especially with like owning a business, problems never go away. There's always going to be a problem that pops up again. And so there's always something to solve. So right now, with AI being so prevalent, and how do we make the most out of it? How do we streamline our processes? What can we automate? What can we employ an agent for? Like, that is something right now that I'm really chewing on. And it's like, well, I don't have a clear answer yet, or I do have an idea, but the technology hasn't caught up with what I need yet. But I know it's going to happen. And so for me, that's what's keeping me going. I know that in 2025, that's what's definitely keeping me going.
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, being an entrepreneur was not on my radar, and I had this weird mental block about it too, because I remember in college I went to college in West Virginia, and there was an agency called Charles Ryan and Associates, and they were like the one big agency in West Virginia, and the story was always that Charles Ryan left his position as a news anchor or a journalist when he was 35 to start his business. And so for some reason, like, I had created this story in my head that after 35, it was too late. And so, right. I mean, I guess, but I was 37.
Yet. You're not 35 yet.
Well, I mean, it's essentially because I'm aging in reverse at this point. I was 37 when we started One Foot Over. And so, like, I had to get past that, like, idea that it was too late. But so, like, being an entrepreneur was not, like, on my radar. It was, I was always the person that was climbing the ladder at a company. But I think now that I've done it, like, I think it does create this, like, idea that building something is really cool, but I'm also wired, like, to win. And, like, my number one strength on Clifton Strengths is competition. So I love the idea of winning. And to me, like, getting a contract signed from a new client is more exciting than, like, launching the website. So getting the contract signed to do the website to me is more of a win than actually launching it. Because when we launch it, my thought is, okay, well, we did the work that we were paid to do. On to the next one. Like, let's go win the next piece of business. So I think this idea of winning really helps with the entrepreneur journey. And then, like, now that I've done it once, Hami and I are always like, what else can we do? Like, what, and, like, launching the podcast, it was like, that's cool because we're building something new and we want to win at that. Like, so for me, it's probably that winning mentality.
I love that. That's a really good answer.
It's not always a quality to have. There are blind.
But now that we know competition is your number one, Steven, we know how to make stuff work for you.
Exactly. I forgot what my Clifton strength. I would have to go back. I know it's like strategy. Is that one of them? I'm pretty sure that was strategic. On my like top. Yeah, strategic was like on my top 5, but I don't remember the rest of them.
Yeah, a bunch of mine are in execution and strategy, and I was shocked to have, like, not in my top 10, nothing in relationship building or whatever the other bucket is.
Wow.
I was like, don't talk to me and let me do things.
9 of my top 10 are in influencing.
The influencing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm an executioner. Is that the right word?
Yeah. Executor.
Executor, yeah. I like executioner. You should just put that on your LinkedIn.
I like that.
Execution is one of my top ones as well. But then strategy. So there's a strategy is a bucket, and I have a lot of the strategy ones in my top. But strategy itself, I think, is number 32.
Oh, wow. That's so funny.
That's funny.
Especially since we're a strategy first agency. That's concerning.
But I will tell you that for both of us, empathy is kind of low, which is not a badge of honor. It is a moment of reflection.
And it's just something that we have to be aware of. Like, well, I think, like, the idea, of, like I was saying, like with the website, like launching a website doesn't feel like winning, but like we're like, because we're very aware that we don't lead with empathy. Like, it's like we have to remember, like, okay, we've got to stop and celebrate this with the team, because other people that are higher on empathy, like they're looking for that celebration and that recognition. And because we don't need it, like we have to be more like conscientious that like we've got to be more, you know, aware that we need to build that into our processes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's good that you're like aware of that, and hopefully, do you find that you balance each other out a little bit? Because it seems like you work really well together.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I think that I think that one of the I think that I mean I've mentioned it already. I think the intensity that we both bring to our lives, I think that sometimes that probably boils over a little bit because we don't know when to stop. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're good at. I mean, we call each other out, like if we're being too harsh with like our team. Sometimes we're like, I think you need to pull back on that because, whatever reason, or like we have no problem saying like, hey, like they're trying their best, like you should probably calm down on that part a little bit, because
Mm-hmm.
maybe we didn't give them enough instruction or whatever. But like
mhm.
you're good about that kind of stuff.
That's good.
That's important. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we do respect each other when we have very strong feelings about when either one of us has very strong feelings about something. The other person will say, "Okay, that's fine."
I mean, because like,
I love that.
I
That's
mean,
important.
it's true. There are just like some things that like in life, like you just don't care. And it's not like being apathetic, but it's like I just don't have such a strong opinion on like the color of that thing. So like if you like the green one, like just go for it. Like I'm not going to change the outcome. So if you feel strongly, like just do it.
Yeah. I love that. Well, are you ready for our hot seat questions?
I'm actually scared.
They're not that scary, I
We're not
promise.
scary.
They're not scary at all, I should say. Our goal is not to scare you on this podcast. If you do get scared, I do apologize, but okay, so the first question, and this might be different for both of you, what is the best and or worst advice you've received in your career?
Oh gosh.
The best advice, I know this one's easy for me. Early on in my career, I had kind of got transitioned into a sales role, and my boss at the time brought me a contract one day. It was a 6-figure contract that she'd been working on, and she was like, "Here, can you put this in the system under your name?" And I was like, "I did nothing on this. Like, this is yours." And she's like, "Yeah, but I'm the director." She's like, "I don't get credit for it, but if you turn it over in your name," she's like, "you get credit, and then I get credit for hiring you." She's like, "I would rather my team look good." She's like, "Because that looks good for me." And I was like,
love
"Oh,
that.
yeah." That was probably one of the most important like management lessons I learned.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
I
What a
have
cool
some-
boss.
I have some worst advice, and
I love
and that's to keep your personal life and your work life completely separate.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
I feel like
impossible.
that's the old way of doing
Yeah.
business, and it's not real. Even then, wasn't realistic.
Right, exactly. I mean, you don't want to overshare at work.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't overshare. But I mean, so Steven and I, the reason why we work so well together is because we're friends and we were best friends. So, I mean, and then we work together all day, every day.
Right.
And it works. It's good. So,
Yes.
yeah, it was really, that was one of the worst pieces of advice. And actually, as a side story, one of the people that worked with us on the Crystal Awards, her name was Summer Austin. And it was like the three of us actually that worked on it together, and we were really good friends. We spent every Sunday together for a long time, and she passed away right before Stephen and I were going to take over, just us two. And so I think that brought us closer. Anyway, I bring her up because she was the person that really brought it into like my consciousness that you don't need to have two separate lives, that they can be intertwined, and it could work really well, and it will make you probably happier and more content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your agency would definitely not be good candidates for severance then.
No.
You forget what you talked about outside the office. Awesome. Okay, so taking a total pivot, I have to ask, what is behind the name One Foot Over?
Oh, I'll let Steven tell the story.
So this also goes back to Crystal Awards. When we had decided to start the agency, we had a session on a Saturday where we whiteboarded name options, and we were trying to do like your standard brainstorming session. And we walked out and we're like, nothing feels right, nothing stuck that day. So we're like, okay, we'll come back to this. And we knew we were starting a business. Like, we knew it was an agency, but we didn't have a name. We didn't want it to be our names. And so we had a meeting that week with a video production company, and they were doing the opening video for Crystal Awards. And in the past, a lot of the videos had been like these cheesy, like just self-congratulatory, like marketing is the most important thing in the world and we're changing lives. And we were like, you know what, at the end of the day, we're marketers giving out marketing awards to other marketers for email campaigns and social media. Like, we are not St. Jude's, like saving sick kids here.
Yeah.
So, like, it does not have to be this like heartwarming, touching story. We're like, let's get a little bit like risque. Let's push the envelope a little bit on this. And the guy looked at us and he was like, I like that. He was like, I can tell you guys like to take it 1 foot over the line. And then we just kind of looked at each other and we're like, and then got in the car after and we're like, what about 1 foot over? We're like,
I like it.
We're like, it could mean like, if you are willing to like push your marketing 1 foot over the line and get uncomfortable with your marketing, or, you know, for the clients that are more conservative and want to play it safe, like, we'll take your results 1 foot over the line. We can angle it both ways, but like, it was just like one of those things. We heard it and we're like, all right, that's it. That's the name.
I love that. That's such a great story. And I love what you said. We're just doing marketing. We're not we're not saving lives here.
Yeah. Right. No, we talk about it internally. We're like, we do B2B marketing too. So, I mean, realistically, unless a website is down, it's going to be hard for me to believe that there is a marketing emergency that's happening. Right. I need to drop everything that I'm doing to go and change something.
Agreed.
9 times out of 10, the reason that website is down is because somebody didn't pay their bill. So feel like that's not a me problem. That is a you problem.
Yeah. It's not often that most websites just go down for no reason.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And we intentionally like do not host websites. Like, that is one area of the business that we're not getting into. We'll recommend the hosting company, but like, we are not a website hosting company. So if your website's down, there's actually somebody else you can call.
Yeah. That's fair.
Not us. I love that. Well, we've kind of gotten to know your dynamic a little bit and how you work together, which is really fun. And I kind of want to know, like, how did the two of you decide, like, who does what? How do you like divvy up owner responsibilities, and kind of what does that look like for you?
So I'm process oriented. So I don't even know when we did it. It was pretty early in the beginning. It's like, okay, Steven, what do you want to do? Because I don't think that we're twins.
Right.
We're not twins. So what do you want to do? And these are the things that I'd like to do. And this is how we can split it up. So that's really how we split it up. There are some things that are shared responsibilities, like both of us do sales, and it really depends on who comes in, who's the better match to take on a lead, or where it came in from. If it was somebody from somebody I know, then obviously I would take it, and vice versa. So there's that piece of it. And then I would say that running the agency itself, like the business aspects of it. So like Steven sends out the invoices and I deal with the bookkeepers and I pull the financial reports. And so it really, that is that checks and balances that we put in place too, so that not one of us isn't just solely handling this one thing that is incredibly important because it's the finances. We're both involved in that piece of it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Anything
really
else?
smart. That's really smart too, that you switch off as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff, like, it's funny to think about. Like, there's a lot of stuff we did like very early on that like has stuck through 8 years. And it's like stuff that we've not really had to revisit. And like the one, I don't know why I was thinking about it today. Like we came up, like we came up with like agreements early on too. And like we had this one agreement that like we wouldn't spend more than $500 without talking to the other person.
Oh, that's good.
I will tell you, for the most part, like we don't spend like $30 without telling the other person.
I love that.
And it's not like an approval thing. It's just like, hey, heads up, I'm going to buy this thing on Amazon for $30 or whatever. And it's not even about the price. A lot of times it's just saying like, hey, I'm gonna buy this. Like, but it's just funny to think like we were coming up with like processes and like agreements early on that were like irrelevant because we didn't even have $500. And those are things that have like stuck, and like we've never revisited it. And like at this point, the threshold probably should be a little bit higher, maybe, but like we don't spend money like that without talking to each other anyways. So
Yeah,
like
I think that we're both pretty fiscally conservative anyway. So I think that's why it's like, oh, I'm going to buy this light or this microphone or something.
well, and some like honestly, sometimes it's like I'm going to buy this, or do we need this thing? And it's like we realize like we've already got one somewhere that we just haven't used in like 3 years, or like the other person never used it, and it's like, oh, we actually have that.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I didn't know we had it. Like it's really just more about being efficient and like not wasting money. But
Yeah.
I hate that when I buy something I've already had, and then when I like start cleaning my office, I'm like, oh, I already had one of those.
Yeah.
They're never anything like super expensive. It's always like under $50, but you're like,
So it doesn't
But
even
still.
matter to like return it or whatever.
yeah, totally. Especially if
And
it's
then
from Amazon.
as we're setting up like this, all the stuff, like when we're launching our podcast, it was like, why do we have like so many tripods in this office? Like I think there's like 6 or 7 of them like floating around.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes.
You can capture yourselves from all angles.
Well, actually, do you know what? I can tell you a story of why we have so many tripods. It's because there were a few years ago, whenever TikTok came on the scene, and we were all kind of like, well, can we use this for B2B? Is this a thing? We did a campaign where One Foot Over, or the B2B marketers, actually had undergone a campaign. It was 90 TikToks in 90 days. And in this 90-day period, we were like, what kind of camera equipment do we need? And so we bought all the camera equipment and all the lights and all the things. And we really were like, well, I mean, we might need that. Yeah, I mean, we might need that light box. We might need that whatever the lights that have like the really bright lights.
Yeah.
And so we did all those things. Yeah, we need another ring light. Yeah. Let's keep the ring light. And so we are not a video production agency by any means, but we could probably start one
if you wanted to. Yeah.
All the equipment.
Okay, I have our next question. So we know it takes a lot to be an agency owner, but on top of that, both of you volunteer. So how do you feel this type of volunteer service makes you better business owners or better people? Or are you just a glutton for punishment like me? You just volunteer, just spend more time.
I can relate my experience with AMA Houston specifically. So the AMA Houston board is 40 people, and they're all volunteers. And our team at One Foot Over is not 40 people. And also at One Foot Over, I can tell somebody what to do, and most of the time they will do it. It will just happen, right? Because I obviously have more power than they do. I sign their checks. So inherently, that's what happens. But with AMA, the people that were on the board, they were all volunteers. And so you can't just say, hey, you need to do this. You really need to relate to them and understand what really motivates them. And I think that's what made me that's what's made me a really good leader. I really grew a lot as a leader, especially the year after COVID, because everybody was like really raw, like emotionally from what happened. And so, yeah, I think that I've really taken that in the way that I lead, in other organizations that I've been part of as well. And at One Foot Over, because it's not about, hey, I have, I'm do this thing or I'm not going to pay your check. It's do this thing because and this is how I'm going to ask you so that you can do it and do it even better than you would have if the motivation was about money.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I think for me, like, if I think specifically about AMA, it was, when I moved to Houston, I didn't have a network of people. I had a few friends that lived here, but like, I didn't have a group of marketers or colleagues. And so looking for my first job in Houston was rough. It took me like 8 months to find a job, and it wasn't a job that I wanted. And then I got, another job and was like, I still don't feel like I have a network. And the place I worked at the time, we had an agency, and the agency owner was like, hey, I know you want to get back into a marketing position. And so there's an AMA happy hour. You should come with me tonight. So I went with her, met some people. She introduced me to the incoming president of the board, who took me to lunch and like got me involved. I became a volunteered for a while, joined the board, and then got a job in marketing, and like specifically was hired because the guy was like, well, he's like, I see that you're a volunteer with AMA. So if you're spending your time volunteering, I know that you're serious about marketing. And then just,
That's cool.
stayed involved and continued building my network. And like, I always told people, like, I felt like if I ever found myself in a position where I was out of work again, like it wouldn't have been scary because I would have had 50 people I could call. And so I felt like I got so much out of just being involved that like when I got the chance to lead it, it was like, I want to make sure that other people have that. And so it truly is that like idea of like, I want to give back what I felt like I got out of it.
Yeah.
And then, like other things that I've done in my life, like with Open Gate, it was really more about, they provided a hot dinner every Sunday to homeless young adults between 18 and 24, most of them a member of the LGBTQ community. And it was like, just some, I've never been unhoused, but like just knowing what like young LGBT people go through and like the risk they're at, it was like, that's somewhere else I can give back. That's not marketing. You know what I mean? Like AMA, again, we're marketers doing this for marketers. Like, and so the opportunity to do it in a way too, where I'm actually putting good back out in the world, that was something I feel like helps you just grow as a person.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for sharing.
Absolutely. Well, kind of pivoting a little bit from that topic. We've talked a little bit about your podcast. I want to know more about your podcast, when it launches, and your audience for that.
So the podcast is called B2B Happy Hour, and we launched in August.
Yay!
Yay!
Congrats!
And
Thank you.
Hami, you actually have a Slack message, right?
Yeah. So it all started in 2021. I had been drinking. I know I've been drinking because it said, okay, drinking thought. This is how
those are the best thoughts.
Yes, absolutely best thoughts. And then the message reads, people want in on our happy hours, so let's make it an exclusive thing. And I pinned that message. I remember I pinned that message for a long time because I was like, I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that. And so that's how we got here now in 2025.
And so it was, and we used to go to happy hour almost every Friday after work. It would be like, all right, it's 4:30, let's go somewhere and get a drink. And then we would invite friends or invite a client, and then like people would be like, oh, I want to come to one of your happy hours. Like, let me know the next time you have it. And then, and I know the message Hami sent about like people wanting to come to our happy hours. It became, I don't want to say annoying, but it was like, oh my God, we just want to go to happy hour and like not have to plan it every week, because it was like, what time, where are you meeting? How long are you going to be there? And it's like, oh my God, we just want to like, it's just happy hour. So that people would ask about it, but then kind of going back to like One Foot Over started from that 2-hour happy hour Hami scheduled. And so the idea was like, let's just do the B2B happy hour where we talk about B2B marketing over a bottle of wine. And the happy hour is not about the wine. It's just, that's how One Foot Over got started. People wanted to go to our happy hours. And it's really like, Hami and I sit across from, or our offices are next door to each other. We talk to each other all day about marketing stuff. And we're like, what if we just let everybody else in on the conversation? And so it's really like a conversation between me and Hami where we're having happy hour.
I love this.
Yeah. And so I mean, fun. It's not just about marketing, right? So, I mean, it's primarily about marketing, but it's just like a regular happy hour where we weave in and out pop culture. You see that story?
I love this.
So it's really, it really is like a happy hour format where we're having drinks and we're talking about what's happening with marketing, what are our wins for the week, or, how did I beat you, Stephen, or how did Stephen beat me that week?
The competition in
yes,
there.
The competition is strong. And then we also talk about, like the Diddy stuff. I mean, like that's like, and that's how our friendship is. And so that's why I think that it's so fun, because you're just having conversations. It feels like you're having a conversation with friends, but you're also talking about marketing too.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
It goes back to that whole merging of the personal, professional, being whole people. Right. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's, we take the work serious, but like we don't take ourselves too serious.
Yeah. We don't.
Awesome. I think that's
we'll be sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, you finish your thought.
I was going to say that I think that's something you learn as you get older, to just like take yourself less seriously. Like we're not that important.
Yeah.
Really not.
Yeah. And it's okay if you mess up.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I just taught my toddler this. He whenever he like spills something or like drops something, he was like having kind of like meltdowns about it. And so I've been saying it over and over again. I'm like, it's okay, accidents happen. And so now in our household, it's like just become this funny thing whenever we make a mistake, we're like, it's okay, accidents happen. And yeah.
I went to an improv class a few weeks ago, and like the improv teacher was like, if you mess up, don't get flustered, don't like worry about it. He was like, we always say here, like when you make a mistake, think about it as like it's actually a gift. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm going to start using that in my professional life. Like, there's a typo in this copy. I'll be like, oh, thank you for that gift.
I love that.
It's a good one to steal.
So I love that. One, we'll make sure your podcast info is linked in the show notes as well, so people know where to find you and how to listen.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, I have our last closing question that we're asking all of our guests this season, which is, what is a piece of media content, like a song, a album, a movie, book, podcast, that you are obsessed with or really digging right now? And I want an answer from each person, because we'll make a list on our website.
It's just anything.
Anything. Yeah. Anything.
So it's probably a moment in time, and by the time people hear this, it may not be as current, but I love K-pop Demon Hunters right now.
Love it.
My mom keeps telling me to watch it, and I'm like, I will eventually.
The movie, the soundtrack, it's top tier.
Nice.
Awesome.
Coincidentally, my piece of media is also Korean related. It's a K-drama, and I've never really watched K-dramas. This is really my first one. It's called The Glory. It's on Netflix, and it's a story about revenge. So this woman was abused and bullied by a group of people when she was in high school, and it's her story about how her entire life has been about plotting this revenge, and it is so satisfying so far. And just fair warning, it is more. I thought that because it was K-drama, it would be not as like graphic, but it is kind of graphic. So that's
interesting.
a warning there, but it's really good.
Awesome. We'll add both of those to my list.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Stephen and Hami, we have come to the end of our time. Thank you so much for being on with us. And we just wanted to give you an opportunity if there is anything else that you want to plug besides the podcast. How do people find you? And anything else you wanted to share that we didn't cover today?
So you can find me online at Hami Arrington, literally everywhere with that handle. Happy to chat. I am most active on LinkedIn. So if you send me a note on Facebook, I probably won't respond for a while. So LinkedIn is the place to find me, and would love to connect.
And then I am also on LinkedIn, Stephen Brent May, but you can find me on Instagram at Houston Wine Freak, where I share wines that I love.
Oh my gosh.
And wines that I'm drinking. And because our B2B Happy Hour podcast includes a bottle of wine, I'll probably actually cross-post our podcast there, so you can do double duty and get content in two places. We're also building a social presence around our podcast channel, which is at the B2B Marketers. And you can also check out our website, getOneFootOver.com.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, you can send us a message on Instagram if you have any questions for us or you want us to pass on to our guests, or if you have recommendations for future guests or topics, hit us up there as well. And we will see everybody next time. Thanks so much. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Take the Leap podcast. Check out our show notes to connect with us and our guests. If you have questions about the episode or ideas for future topics, send us a direct message on Instagram or email us at aloha@taketheleap-today.com. If you're interested in being a guest, fill out the guest interest form on our website.
If you're a new entrepreneur who is looking for a roadmap to move your business idea forward, check out the Take the Leap course on our website, taketheleap-today.com. Members who join the course also have an opportunity to join us in bi-weekly co-working and group coaching calls to build momentum and work on your business.
And if you'd like a flavor of what we offer, sign up for our free webinar with the 9 essential steps you need to launch your business with clarity and confidence. See you next time.